I know that this property is worth it, Adams. Owning a home up here in all these years, I know that that property is worth millions of dollars. Why is the school district selling the property, taking that money and investing it into the infrastructure that's already here? And I can tell you, a lot of us, I'll just say, we have a lot of problems with kids going to the school there. And what they did to the neighborhood, they did to homes, and so on. And I don't think, even though they're going to be younger, that the neighborhood up here is ready to go back to that situation. So it seems to me that this is not a financial wise investment at all.
Hi. How will families that don't have cars get to the school? My calculation is that the closest AC Transit stop is 0.7 miles. It's over here at Barron and Tulare, or down on San Pablo. So how will families that don't have vehicles get to school?
I just say, first of all, most of our families right now come from a lot farther away from our school than just right around the block, and most of them drive. So I just want to correct them, and if there's a misperception about that. In terms of how people will get there, frankly, I think there's a number of options, but the reality is we don't know yet because we're still going through the planning process. And we'll be going and talking to the county planning department about the site and about traffic impact and all of the sorts of things that I had mentioned earlier. So I don't have an answer to that right now.
Hi, this question is probably answered, but I don't understand why you guys are putting a K-8 charter school right next to K-8 middle school here. Created a conflict between us, and I feel like it's not really fair.
So we have a K-8 school. It's operating in 36 portables on the edge of the Kennedy campus. You're all welcome to come and visit. We have 600 families. Next year we're going to have 800. We're oversubscribed, as we mentioned. And we need a permanent home. And as Dr. Harder and Ms. LeBlanc have said, the district has a legal obligation to provide us with a permanent home. The Adams facility is vacant. It's been vacant and derelict since 2009. It would make a fabulous home for our students. Even if everyone in Mira Vista wanted to come to Caliber, we're oversubscribed. If everyone in Caliber wanted to come to Mira Vista, you're full as well. So I don't really see the conflict that you're describing.
I'm Liz Block, and I'm also a school board member, and I know a lot of people think I'm pro-charter and against kids, which is so, and I keep hearing people say Trump, and I'm thinking, gosh, you sound like Trump. Just one word, but I'm up here to apologize. I'm up here to apologize on behalf of the district because I feel like the district has done a really poor job of informing parents about the situations with charter schools. And what I'm hearing are a lot of really good points that are about things that are inaccurate, but nevertheless excellent points. Like, we can't just sell Adams for fair market value. School districts can't do that with property. But that's a very good question, because if we could sell it at fair market value, $60,000 would be ridiculous. We know what stuff is selling for in our neighborhoods. And this meeting was held at Mira Vista, but Caliber has never wanted to take anything away from Mira Vista School. And I don't know why you're laughing. I just don't know why you have that response. I feel so let down by the people of El Cerrito, who I thought were reasonable people. from here, I didn't know the difference. Please try to be the people I know I live with, my neighbors, my friends, in Richmond or El Cerrito, who are not irrational. This is a gentleman who just wants to help kids get their education. And you're laughing.
Question out there, I believe it's
All right. In the neighborhood, in fact, at the back door of Adams. Can you hear me? I live at the back door of Adams, almost literally. And I also happen to be a public school teacher of 20 some odd years. I don't really want to be here to debate charter schools. I'm a public school teacher, so it should be obvious that I have a negative attitude about charter schools. So the things that have been said about them, I get it. But I think as a neighbor, as a really close neighbor, my biggest question is, are you going to be, because it seems to be a done deal. It was a done deal when a few years ago our state voted for this stuff. So when people say why, it's because there are some people in the state who voted for it. It's a done deal, so we have to deal with it somehow, rather than yell and scream and bark. If it is a done deal, and I can live with that on some level, my question is what kind of neighbors you're going to be. For instance, when it's being built, and you mentioned, getting rid of toxic stuff. Well, I live right there, so the toxic stuff will be sweeping over my house. I would like to, assurances that won't happen. When it's built, I would like assurances about the footprint of what you're building. Quality of life issues, all those kinds of things. When Adams was there, my partner was one of the neighbors who works from home, so he was there monitoring, the kids as they came to school and left. It's not his job. But the school district did not do that. We had made plenty of calls to Dr. Harder, who was absolutely useless. I know, surprise. Right? And we want assurances that you will not be those kinds of neighbors. We also want to know, there was a question back there about communication. I think that is also key. We got that little thing in the mail just recently. We need that kind of stuff. We don't, that's my point. That some of us did and some of us didn't. That's what we want from you, is assurances that, construction, once it's done, are you going to be good neighbors? Are you going to be, the accountability? Can we call you when the kid has, graffitied my car or my fence? And you're not going to tell me, so what, or whatever. They're kids. Yeah, I know they're kids. I work with, 130 of them every day. But that doesn't excuse, am I?
Yeah, look, I agree. And I will tell you, obviously, we've gotten off on a bad start here. So you're not going to believe me when I say this. You're only going to find out over time. But I will offer one thing that you can hang your hat on. We are a much smaller, much more easy to communicate organization than a larger school district. And I'm not pointing fingers at the school district. They've got a different challenge. It's a much larger organization. They've got a lot more on their plate. But we will look and feel very different than the school district when it comes to those sorts of things. And I will say again, I think we've gotten off on a bad foot in terms of communication. I think we should try and figure out what's the best mechanism. If you want to set up an email list where we email regular updates, if you want to have a bulletin board that you can come by and see whenever you want, if you want to be able to call the campus and talk to staff, we're up for all of that. I will say that one of the other things that we do at Caliber that's very different from a district environment, we who work on the sort of district side of things, the back office side of things, we work at the school. We're not 100 miles away or 10 miles away or even 5 miles away. We're literally at the school every day. So I will say yes, you can believe me or not, you will find out over time, but yes, we do understand that and we care a lot about it.
The other thing I'd say is we take behavior and social and emotional learning very seriously, and it's a pillar of our education, and we think critically important for our kids. I will say we've been in operation for 2 years. We have not had a graffitiing or a keying or any other neighborhood incident in those 2 years, either on the Steve site or the Kennedy site, and we hope that would continue. And I assure you, if you informed us that one of our kids was misbehaving, now a lot of our kids are not going to be middle schoolers and won't be unchaperoned off the campus, but we would take it very seriously.
And I would also just add that as far as morning drop-off and afternoon pickup, our staff is out completely enforcing that at our current location. I'm 2 blocks down the street making sure that traffic is flowing and that we're not congesting the community. So we will do the environmental impact study, and I'll be in all of those meetings so that I can make sure I know where our staff should be to make sure we're having as little impact on the community as possible as far as traffic and that sort of thing.
Hi. So I have a specific question, but first of all, I'd like to make, an observation, because I think what's really tweaking people here is that you've got this odd combination of public and private. You're running a business, but you're using public assets to run your business, and you're getting into the public sphere. So let me finish my comment, please. For example, you're buying a piece of property for an incredibly low price. That's public property, and yet you buy it. So now, who holds title to that property? Everybody's going, well, are you going to go bankrupt? I don't even know if you're going to go bankrupt. You're a business. But you're holding title now to what was formerly a public property, and you bought it for dirt cheap. So you can't expect people to be happy about that. Okay, so that was my observation. And on, there's this crazy mix of public and private that seems to be benefiting your business. So that's not our definition of fair business practice, okay? There's public and there's private, and there's different rules, but they're mixing so that it comes out to your advantage and to the disadvantage of the public schools that are struggling. My question for you is, where exactly are you along in terms of your talking to and negotiating with the City of Richmond? Have you talked to the planning department? Have you talked to the mayor? I'd like to know who you've talked to and where you are in terms of any kinds of dealings you have. It's all at the county level. But if you're going to do planning, then whose planning department do you go through? You have to... Nothing through the City of Richmond?
No, as been pointed out, this is an unincorporated part of the county, so all of the planning goes through the county planning department, not the City of Richmond.
So if any of us have concerns about that, then we need to be talking to the county planning department, the county people that you're negotiating with. Can you tell us where you are in terms of your negotiation along the way of buying this property?
I do want to address the observation, because I think there's a misperception here. You say a mixture of private and public. Just to be clear, we are independent of the district, but we're a nonprofit. It's not like, if you want to call that private, that's fair. I don't want to debate. But the undertone of the commentary and the concern over the mixing was really around your business or accruing to us in some way. As a nonprofit, there are no investors. There's nobody who wins and takes that money. So I just want to put that out there, and we can happily talk more about it in detail. But in terms of where we are in the process, we have only just started. All we have done at this point is learning a bit about the boundaries of the parcel and the zoning of it and the history of it. There haven't been negotiations or any of that. We haven't put the plan together and submitted it for approval. We haven't started the CEQA process and environmental consulting. We're at the very, very beginning of starting to think about this. No, we have not purchased the property. The district owns the property. It's still, I think there's a sentiment that the train has left the station without all of you, but we are much earlier in the process than I think you guys feel like we are.
To clarify, I want you to clarify that after you purchase that property, you own the property. Is that correct?
So just to be clear.
There's a title.
Sure, just to be clear, the property, if this transaction goes ahead, would be sold to us with a large number of restrictions, such as we can't resell it. So we own a property in a 501c3, which is a philanthropic organization. It's not allowed to make money, and we have no right to sell the property. If we can't use the property anymore, or we don't want to use the property, we have an obligation to offer it back to the district for the same price.
What same price?
Whatever the price is that we end up agreeing to.
Well, wait a
would
minute, you're going to buy it at $60K, so what's the price you're going to offer it back at?
If we bought it at $60K, I think we'd have to offer it back at $60K.
Even after you put $20 million into it?
Even after we put $20 million in it. There would be some exceptions, like if some of the loans weren't repaid, they would be subject to, the lenders have a right to get repaid. But it would be a huge windfall for the district if we decide we can't use the property anymore. We have no right to make a profit on it. We have no right to sell it. We will have title, but with a lot of restrictions on it that make it impossible for us to make any money. With respect to your other comments, so we are a 501c3 registered charity. All of our books and records, our tax returns are public. All of our meetings are public. The minutes are public, and nobody makes any money. I personally work every day for free. My wife and co-founder work for free. Our board of directors work for free. Nobody is making any money of it, and there's no opportunity to make any money. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it. Is that a question?
But,
I'm happy to answer your question.
hi, there is an order here.
Why don't I just answer his question? Okay? And then you can come next. Is that okay?
Why does he get a question ahead of me?
Okay, why don't you ask this question? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rika Bauer. I'm a teacher at Mira Vista School. I've been here for over 20 years, and our school has grown in the neighborhood. I have the United Nations sitting in front of me every day. That's why I love this school so much, that I've been here for so long. Public education is a very tedious process. We are always underfunded, and when you say you want to enrich public education, it does actually the opposite. Every student that goes into a charter school gives less money to our schools here. That is just the math. And by philanthropists buying and doing this process, they're undermining public education. Instead of solidly funding public education, funding our schools, or helping, you could be helping funding our schools, they've taken it in a direction. They want to have an impact on what public education is supposed to be like. Teachers are not supposed to be in the union. They are supposed to be working for less money even that they are being paid right now within a unionized system. They're supposed to be trained just that way and working in just that way. And the freedom, with all the errors that came with it, of public education being a process of a community and a public process, will be taken away when this group goes into several communities. It really isn't giving you a choice anymore. It's making it so that finally, in order to have halfway decently funded schools, you have to go there. In this way, it is ending public education as we know it. And that is what we need to keep in mind. And I think here, as the people we are, we need to make a stand. We have a good thing going here. We have a great school. Why would we have a school right next to it that takes this away from us in the longer run? We have to be on the lookout for our schools.
Yes. Good afternoon. I have been a teacher in Contra Costa School for over 21 years. I'm retired now. And it seems to me the presentation that the caliber representatives made rests on 3 points. One, parent choice. It would take a much longer period of time to discuss the perverted concept of choice that is behind your words, because that is no choice at all. That the community here did not choose to have you here to begin with. Second, you have repeated several times that you are a public school, and before I ask my question, I would like to just remind you of what Al Shanker said, one of the founders of the charter school movement. Just after 2 years that he started this movement, he washed his hands off of it, saying, these people are more interested in public money than in public education. You stated before that your records are public. Well, that's not true. The records of our public schools are public. We know how much Dr. Harder makes. We know how much teachers make. We know how much our administrators make. And we don't know anything about your schools. We don't know anything about your schools. We don't know how much you make. I don't believe you're working for free. We don't know how much your administrators make. And your teachers, certainly, we don't know how much they make. And finally, you said that the backbone of your schools, that teachers are the backbone of your schools. In what sense are teachers the backbone of your schools? I would like to ask all those present here, the teachers here, who belongs to the union? Who of the teachers here belong to a union? See, and I'm asking this question. The question really is, how many of your teachers are unionized? Because last year, our union, the UTR Representative Council, passed a resolution, and that is the law upholding the right of charter school teachers to organize, to ensure both quality education and protect their professional and employment rights as guaranteed by the Educational Employment Relations Act, Chapter 10.7, Section 3540, and Article 5 of the California Education Code 47650. That is the law too. And if some of our school board members think that by supporting you they are enforcing the law, well, let me tell you, laws can change. And there is a movement, and I signed a petition to do away with this naked corporate takeover of public money. And there is a lot to be said about the manner in which you choose your students. Because there's a lot of students here that come from low-income families, and they don't manifest from the start, from the moment that they apply, a desire to continue, a desire to belong to your schools. We don't want to happen, we don't want what is happening right now in other districts. We don't want that to happen here. And we will do our best to have you and your organization and all your charter schools out of our district.
I couldn't tell.
So our teachers have every right to form a union under that legislation. This is only the second year that our school has been in existence. We don't have a union as of yet. They have every right to do so. And then I also wanted to clarify the point about choosing students. So we have an open and blind lottery system. Our parents simply fill out the paperwork online. We don't know anything about the student's background or any of that, and it's a blind lottery that we have no control over. So we're not selecting students. They're kind of coming to us.
When you do it online, you automatically vote somebody.
Okay, I have a question about other sites. This has like 3 little parts, but it's pretty simple. I think you can handle it. First of all, what other sites were offered to you? On what grounds did you reject those other sites? And on your online Q&A,
You speak of Adams as being an inspiring site, but that the Kennedy Stage area is not. So how do you explain your commitment to low-income students whose neighborhoods you reject?
If I can answer, there's two parts to that. One about what sites were offered to us. To be clear, no other sites were offered to us. You can talk to the district, and I think they've already answered the question about why they felt this was the right site. So we weren't offered a bunch of sites and rejected them and held out for this. We do think it makes sense for a variety of reasons that we've already laid out. I will say, though, to be very clear about your point about Kennedy, we have no issue with the neighborhood there. We have an issue with being in a bunch of portables on an asphalt parking lot, having no play fields, no multi-purpose room, paltry bathrooms. It is a really substandard facility. So it's not the neighborhood. It is the facility that we are trying to find. And secondly, the fact that it is temporary. The district has never said, and nor should they, that that is a viable long-term home for a school. It has always been used as a temporary decanting site for schools while they await a permanent home. And so that's where we've been, and we've been waiting and trying to push for a long-term permanent home for the school. So whether it would be Adams or somewhere else, would be an interesting debate if there was a somewhere else that was available and empty, as is pointed out by Board Member Cuevas. There wasn't another option. And I think that's just the reality. So I want to make sure that you all understand that we didn't say, let's be super choosy and pick this specifically. It is the option that works for all the reasons that have already been articulated.
Hi. My name is Doria. I'm one of the collective members at Urban Tilth. We are an urban ag organization. Let folks know our work. I came here tonight to actually advocate for the farm that we've been working at obviously for the last 5 years. 5 years, hundreds of youth from this community have spent thousands of hours developing a 1-acre site at the old kind of baseball field, the upper field of Adams. We grow food for the community. We grow food, sell it at farm stands, use that to support our garden programs at Verde Elementary School and Richmond High School. Just been in service to the community. I think that we've clocked over 1,000 volunteers at Adams alone. All of the people who live here, many of the people who live here come to volunteer. It's a community space. So I came here tonight to advocate for that. And I do have to, I'm feeling extremely challenged. Actually, the reason I was talking about this, because when we work in community, we work in community. Urban Tilth goes and knocks on doors, talks to people face to face, invites them in. So Luis and I and the rest of Urban Tilth are feeling extremely challenged to understand how we work with an organization who disregards community. I did not expect what I'm hearing tonight from community members. And it's just not the way we rolled for the last 10 years here in our home community. We are all from here. My brother went to Adams, That said, I want to also kind of make public that I was one of the handful of people in this room that was met with Ron on Monday, yesterday, after being contacted on Saturday that this was happening at all. So, again, I feel challenged because I get a message via LinkedIn on Saturday afternoon saying, hey, let's talk. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that somebody wants to talk to us and acknowledges our project. And it's Saturday and the meeting is Tuesday, and y'all have been talking for a while. And then we meet on Monday, the day before. And I have to say that in that meeting, Ron said everything we probably want to hear. That they correct me if I'm wrong, but they like to maintain that spot as a garden, use it for the benefit of the students there, and work with us to do that. Is that correct? Is that your intention?
Do you want me to respond to your whole comment?
I was going to respond to that, and then I want to finish.
Absolutely.
Right. So I guess my question becomes, or maybe it's just a comment. The only way that Urban Tilth could feel comfortable working with Caliber is if this communication, this lack of respect for our community radically changes. Radically changes. We have people in this community who are extremely passionate about other people in this community, about doing things right, and y'all didn't do things right, at least to this point. And there needs to be some clarity about that. And we could take time to blame the district and whatnot, but as the people who are coming in, I think that even if somebody else isn't doing something right, you can take the initiative to do things the way you would like it done for you and your community. There are deeper issues here around charter schools and what's happening in public education. And I have no answers to that, but just in terms of the farm and having access to a place where people can just have space, whether it be the students in the school. And I would also like to be clear that community access to that space needs to be maintained. To privatize that would also be a disrespect to the community. So my question is, can we maintain community access in a form? I understand that it's a school and there's things that go along with that. Can maintain community access, and what plan do you have in place if this is going to go forward to change the way you're in community with all of us?
Okay, hold on one second. We're going to extend it to 8:30 in regards to that. So if you can please get your questions in. It's about 7:50 right now. And then we're going to the front, then we'll come to the back. You should have a number, we'll identify you. And if we haven't, we're going to finish the front, and then we'll get anyone that's left.
Can I just answer?
So this gentleman right here, he's number 4.
Can I answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was...
So, first of all, thank you for that comment. And I guess I have to say to all of you, I mean, I apologize. We've obviously gotten off on a terrible foot. And I feel terrible about that. And there's no way between now and 8:30, and frankly, we're happy to stay all night or have another meeting or whatever, but there's no way that we can get to know you or you can get to know us well enough for you to trust us. And obviously, you don't feel heard and you don't feel trusted. And as I said, I apologize for that, and I feel terrible about that. We, as an organization, view community and communication as a core value. And so I think we're all sitting up here horrified that this is how you feel. You know, we really, and obviously we've totally screwed this up. We intended this as a first conversation, not a last conversation. This is the beginning of a process whereby we figure out how to make Adams into a thriving and appropriate part of the community. So I'll take responsibility for Caliber. The district can take responsibility or not as they wish, but yeah, we've totally screwed this up. We've gotten off on the wrong foot. We,
What are you going
sure.
to do now? What process? What is
Sure.
the process that
Sure. So I guess I'll say a few things. I think, and this, Caliber has a community now. We have 600 families, and I encourage all of you to come and visit. And we're happy to arrange meetings, with Caliber families. We deliberately didn't bring hundreds of Caliber families here because we wanted this to be an opportunity for you to ask us questions and not a, cheerleading session for Caliber. But I think we need to do a lot of things, is your answer. I think we need to figure out a way to communicate with you regularly. I think we need to figure out a way for there to be dialogue. I guess, we will, as I said, any one of you is welcome to contact me. I'm the founder, and have a one-on-one meeting or a small group meeting. I'm happy for you to come to us. I'm happy for us to come to you. And obviously we need to figure out how to make a better, more formal process. So on behalf of Caliber Schools, I apologize to all of you that you don't feel heard. We genuinely meant this as the beginning because we haven't hired architects, we haven't planned the site. This is really when we start doing that, if the district and Caliber decide to go ahead, and then we move forward there. So I hope you guys will give us the chance to get to know us. I think we'll be a good part of the community. I think Mira Vista and Caliber can thrive together, but as Marcus said, we're not going to persuade you in the next 40 minutes of that. So hopefully, over the next weeks and months and years, we can get to know one another and trust one another.
Okay, so I had a question as well, and mine's also about community. Hi, my name is Chris Roski. I'm a teacher in this district. Thanks. So when I look at your board, you have your descriptions of the people on your board. I know that, Ron, that you have a history with Goldman Sachs. And I also see that Pete Bridger, who's a board member, has a history with Goldman Sachs. And when I go down to Nan Katzer, he's got a history with Eli Broad Foundation, which is a school privatization, as you, I'm sure, well know. And, and if we go on, we continue to see investment banker, venture capitalist. Vivian Wu worked at Excel Partners, a leading venture capital firm. She also went to Pennsylvania's Wharton School, which I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with. Now, this area was really devastated by Goldman Sachs, as I'm sure you know, during the housing crisis. It's funny, so was Vallejo, where the other Caliber school is.